This is how you do this. The Last of Us, Season 1, Episode 1, When You're Lost in the Darkness. So I just watched the first episode of The Last of Us TV show, and over on the gaming channel, or possibly this channel, I still haven't decided where I'm uploading this review. I'm actually replaying The Last of Us Remastered, because that's the one I have. Why pay full price for a game with almost no changes? That makes no sense. Anyway, and I tried to beat the whole game before this came out. Didn't work out because I'm sick and been unable to play. As such, I'm sick and kind of medicated, so this was really fun to watch. So the very, very opening is them explaining how this could possibly actually really happen. I didn't really need that myself. I believe the game had a powerful enough opening as it was. But okay, our people seem to like it. And then we get to the opening we all know, like those of us that played the games, okay? We get to know Joel and his daughter, and this time around, his daughter's mixed, which threw me off because I forgot that Pedro Pascal ain't white, which means Joel ain't white this time around. Which I remember that, I'm like, oh shit, okay, that's why she's mixed. And she's spot on, is the daughter from the video games. She looks like her, she sounds like her, she dresses like her, she acts like her. The only minor gripe was she didn't have the accent from the game. So when she did that line, I sell drugs, hardcore drugs, it was missing something. Speaking of lines, verbatim, a lot of this script, a lot of the writing is verbatim from the video games, and it works. So those who are like, but when you adapt shit, it won't work for the big. Fuck that, it worked here. They use so much dialogue from the video game, and this whole episode takes place within the first, I'd say, hour and a half of the video game, which is basically Joel and Tess trying to find Robert. Okay, after Tess got jumped by some of Robert's people, and this is 20 years after we met Joel and his daughter. Now, if you haven't played the video games, spoilers, it ain't happy ending. And they do literally the same thing. Like when I say verbatim, the same. They film it in some of the same ways. Like when they're driving the car and she looks behind, and it briefly goes in the first person. They do that here in the episode, and like again, the dialogue's mostly the same. Tommy showing up, mostly the same. And when what happens to Joel's daughter unfortunately happens, that is exactly the same. Like exactly the same. And it was perfect. It was. 20 years later, alright, some things have changed. Like that first hour and a half is mostly you and Tess walking around and just having conversations and murdering people. Like that's literally it. Like nothing really happens the first hour and a half. So they glance over a lot of that. And that's a whole lot of exposition. A whole lot of you getting to know these characters. But they make up for that. Because it's a TV show, they can show you without you walking around for an hour and a half. Just hearing these characters shoot the shit. Instead of that, they show you what happened. They show you everything. And you get more scenes of Tess. Like, you get a scene right after she got jumped. And you get another one of her getting jumped again. She gets fucked up. Like, she got fucked up in the game, but she gets fucked up. Okay? To really hammer that point home. And they're like, what about that dude you hang out with? Like, it's fine. And that explains why she doesn't really tell Joel much when he sees her all messed up in the video games. She's just like, yeah, somebody jumped me. And he's like, come on. It's like, whatever. That's what she tried to say with teenagers. He's like, come on. But eventually she does say, yeah, it was Robert and his people. Like, it was Robert's people and everything. And they go after him. But they omit a lot of that journey. Like, we ain't even met Robert yet in this episode. So, but we met Ellie, my favorite character in the whole franchise. And I was thrown off initially when we first started seeing pictures and trailers because this girl looks nothing like Ellie. Like, almost nothing like her. But the second she started talking, I'm like, That's fucking Ellie. That's her. She has her attitude, that voice, her mannerisms. Like, that's her. That is 100% Ellie. Like, oh man. Like, that is her. She might not fully look like it, but that's her. Like, it's weird how Joel's mixed race daughter looks just like his white daughter from the video games. But Ellie in this TV show, who hasn't been with race change or anything, looks almost nothing like her video game counterpart. Crazy, but she has every other element down. I understand this actress is from Game of Thrones. I keep hearing she's a badass. When it comes to Game of Thrones episodes, I played more video game episodes than I've seen TV episodes, so I got nothing to go on. Based on what I've seen, hell yeah, she's a badass. And man, the scene where Tess finds out, where Tess and Joel find out that Ellie's affected, that is right from the video game. Same shit. Only it's also a callback to an earlier scene between Joe and a military officer. And it is beautifully incorporated into that. It's fantastic. Like, wow. And they set up this radio Joel has with the signals, like 60s means okay, 70s means something, 80s means you're fucked. And Ellie says, well, the radio played while you was asleep. Wake me up before you go, which is an 80s song. And she's like, I cracked the code. At the end of the episode, it plays an 80s song, or I presume to be an 80s song. Why not wake me up before you go? Set it up perfectly. I don't know, but yeah, like, this episode, man. If this is just a casual viewer watching this who's never played the video games, you would probably be like, that wasn't bad, but I'm gonna need more. Right? I get that. But if you actually played the video games like I have, this shit was spot the fuck on. Like, yes, it's different. They take some liberties, but not too many. It is really like watching somebody play the video game. Okay? They even mentioned my girl Riley. Alright? And I already talked about it a lot over the game channel. How much I loved the Left Behind DLC, how beautiful that was. That story, man. So yeah. Like this was great. And I'm glad I had to beat the whole game just to watch this show. Like, it's literally exactly where I'm at in my playthrough right now. So that's perfect. Now I said all this by being verbatim and spot on. Apparently episode 3 is ready to make radical changes. Now my guess, this is where Ashley Johnson and Troy Baker show up, who are the video game counterparts Joel and Ellie. Alright? But apparently they're going to be playing whole new characters with giant roles. So maybe that's the whole radical shift. I didn't talk about Marlena, the leader of the Fireflies. I, for the most part, liked her. The actress was fine, but she did a lot of that whisper acting, and I'm not really into that, as I've said many times. But she's good. Like, she has expressions and everything, but the whisper, I get it. Like, when she's bleeding out, that makes sense, but when she's fine, I don't get that. Like, this isn't one of those points in the game or the show where they need to be quiet. So why is she doing the whisper acting? I don't dig that. But yeah, and they do that differently too. Like, because in the video games, you don't meet Marlena until after you murdered Robert and took care of his dudes. And Tess does that awesome sidestep. She's like, where the fuck is Robert? She sidesteps. Like, I needed him alive. They're like, oh well. In this one, they just jump to it, to the Ellie. Like Joel and Tess, they try to go find Robert, and they find Ellie first, and change things like that. So yeah, but this was fantastic. It was, and like, this is how you do it. Like I said at the beginning of this review, Netflix. This is how you do it. This is how you adapt a much beloved survival horror video game series. Okay? I don't know what the hell's going on over at Netflix, adapting these video game properties, but then making them unrecognizable. Like they did with Resident Evil, that are doing it with The Witcher. We're gonna do our own thing. What the fuck? Okay. HBO Max, they made some decisions. Them and WB, they made some decisions. But this is one of the good decisions right here. Yeah, yeah. Oh, I forgot. Even the theme song for the TV show is the theme song from the video game. It's not changed or anything. It's not made theatrical or orchestral or anything. It's the same theme song. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, I forget to mention, I talked a lot about Joel, but I didn't talk about Pedro Pascal as Joel. He is spot on. He is. Oh, excuse me. He is spot on. A bit different, but spot on, okay? Oh, excuse me. And this time around, like, Joel has PTSD over what happened to his daughter, because, yeah. And Joel, they really already are kind of focusing on Joel not really being a hero, more of an, if anything, anti-hero. Like, they do that because Joel is morally ambiguous throughout this franchise, which is why what happened in The Last of Us 2 happened. We won't go there. But yeah, they kind of dance around that too. Like, and I like that they touched on that. Like, he's not straight up the hero. Like, no, I like that. And him being morally ambiguous in the show or an anti-hero, that's kind of badass. He does. We'll see how long that lasts when he gets to those real moments. Like, you remember those moments. But yeah, thank you for watching.